Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the market close. We got a green day. Believe it or not, we do have a green day. I I gotta say, I was not expecting today to be green. The market has been crazy this week. We are in the middle of, well, we're in a tariff war, and the order of the day is chaos. So be prepared for a lot of crazy stuff on the market. I'm actually really, really shocked because today uh, the aluminum and steel tariffs began. And oh boy, yesterday, oh, uh, it started off at 25%. Then Donald Trump went and retaliated because of Doug's Ford's surcharge on the electricity, and he backed that down. It evened itself out. It evened itself out. But we didn't get 50% today, thankfully. But we did get 25. What can I say? What can I say? One thing I did want to talk about before we jump into the charts. I've had a couple. I've watched a couple of conversations of people talking about tariffs, and they don't actually know what a tariff is. So let's do tariff 101 for a second. So when you come along and you throw a tariff on another country, so in this case here, Donald Trump put a 25% tariff on most Canadian goods. We're just going to, it doesn't matter what the good is. Let's just say you put a 25% tariff on, let's say maple syrup. You put a 25% tariff on maple syrup as Donald Trump. What that means is that there's 25%. We're not paying it. Like Canada's not paying that 25%. The people who are paying that are the consumers in the United States. So when an American goes to buy some maple syrup, they're going to have a 25% additional charge on that maple syrup. So it's like a tax that they're paying. So their own people are paying it. But this is why tariffs are bad. What this then does is that people aren't going to choose to buy. If you're going to have to pay 25% more on that maple syrup, because the importer technically paid the 25% already, but they're not going to absorb that price. They're going to hike that price up for you. So you're paying that 25% more. But here's the thing. Maybe New Hampshire maple syrup, not quite as good as Canadian maple syrup, but pretty darn close. And it's no longer more expensive. It's actually more reasonable priced. So instead of buying that Canadian maple syrup, you buy the New Hampshire maple syrup. And what ends up happening? The person who makes the Canadians who make that Canadian maple syrup, probably in Quebec, they start getting less orders for it because it's too expensive. It's too expensive because that 25% is being padded onto that price on the US side. So then all of a sudden, that supplier of maple syrup in Quebec, they don't have as many orders. They start to lose. Well, that basically bites into their bottom line, and it ends up hurting them. And when that hurts them and they don't have as much maple syrup and they don't have as much of a demand, what do? They may go and say, look, guys, we don't need as much maple syrup, so we're going to lay some of you off. So that's what ends up happening and moving back and forth. Then if Canada turns around and says, okay, well, we're going to put a tariff on the U.S. In exchange because of what they're doing to us, what that then does is, we end up anybody who imports stuff from the U.S. or imports whatever is being tariffed will pay that 25%. And then it'll be more expensive for Canadians, and it'll go the exact opposite way. So it moves the opposite way, but that's kind of that thing. Now, one of the conversations I was looking at is somebody was confused a little bit about Doug's Ford electricity and his 25%. Now, some people were calling it a tariff. It's not a tariff. He was putting like a surcharge or a levy. You could call it either, but he was putting a charge, an additional 25% tax, basically, on top of that electricity that was being sold to the United States. So that way whatever utility companies are buying that electricity from Ontario, we're going to pay 25% more. Now that has been turned off for now. Doug Ford said, well, he said basically in good faith, he pulled that back because he's meeting with he is meeting with the commerce guy in the U.S. Tomorrow, actually, to see if they can work out some kind of a deal. We'll have to see how that all turns out. But anyway, that's what happens. And these tariffs, even though you're hurting yourself, and one of the bad things about a tariff as well is even though what may happen, like we talked about the maple syrup, so the Canadian maple syrup all of a sudden is now 25% more expensive. Well, New Hampshire maple syrup, the retailers might look at it and say, well, now it's a lot cheaper. What if we raise the price on that? And that's what happens. So a lot of times, even though the tariff is on the Canadian good, the Canadian maple syrup in this case, New Hampshire maple syrup might all of a sudden knock their price up. They're probably not 25% because they still want to be just under the Canadian stuff, because then people who love maple syrup are going to still buy it. So you end up seeing non-tariffed items as well start to increase in price. You gotta love capitalism. You gotta love capitalism. But anyway, I just wanted to sort of clear that up. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. All right, let's get to the charts. We're running a little behind. So we do have a green day. Pretty much right across, almost. Well, the Dow Jones is in the red, but the TSX, we are up 0.81%. Now, we're still nice and deep in the red for the month, of course. We had a horrific couple of days. Monday was just absolutely, and the funny thing is, I know on the weekend, I was talking about Monday, and I was saying, as long as we don't have anything happen with Trump, we should be good on Monday. But no, Trump has to come out and start talking again. And he basically was saying, oh yeah, well, the recession is probably in the cards. That was enough. Between that and, of course, the job numbers on Friday, the job numbers, you could say, oh, well, look, unemployment didn't go down. Unemployment didn't rise that much in the States, but they did miss some of their job estimates. And that does show some of the underlying problems that are currently beginning to develop in the American economy. So people panicked big time on Monday as a result. So what can we say? All right, so we are in the red on the TSX. Sorry, on the red. Red for the month, green for the day. Same idea with the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is up 0.39% today, but they're well in the red for the month as well. So what can I say? NASDAQ, same idea. NASDAQ did better than any of the other exchanges. They're up 1.10. Actually, indexes. They're not exchanges. Now the Dow Jones, they are in the red a little bit, 0.17 down. Gold is having a good day, up 0.6. Silver up 0.84, and WTI, West Texas Intermediate, doing great, up 1.98%. Bitcoin's kind of flat for the day. Well, yeah, look at that. They're at 0.00 at this moment. Ethereum fell a little bit further, though. They're actually down 2.24%. So what can I say? All right, let's hit the heat map. Let's get that heat map going. It's not that bad. Look at some of these numbers. Some of these are really good. Like CNR up 1.53% today. CP is up. The banks are mostly up. Manulife Financial up 1.77, loving it. CNQ, I love seeing CNQ coming back up 1.91%. And interestingly enough, the telecoms, when everybody was in the red, all of the telecoms were mostly doing good. Bell was just absolutely cruising along in the green through the red days. But we have a green day, and look at this. Bell is down 1.82%. TELUS is down even more, or no, not more, 1.71%. And Rogers down a little bit as well, 0.67%. Switching south of the border, we've got Google, Meta, NVIDIA. Look at NVIDIA up 6.16%. Broadcom, pretty good day on tech overall. Tesla up 7.24%. I was watching video actually from yesterday of Trump and the Tesla at the White House because he's going to buy one. He can't drive it, but he's going to buy it. And he kept calling it Tesla. So I was like, that's great. That's great. Poor Elon and Tesla. Apple is the one outlier. They are down. Look at that, down 1.85%. Heading over to crypto. As I said, not that bad of a day, other than, well, for poor Ethereum. What can I say? So we are in the green. So we'll pick ourselves a red company. So as you guys know, there is a lot of coins out there. Basically more than 15,000 of these coins. Most of them are what I like to call a crap coin. And let's grab a crap coin here. We'll grab this one. Kaizen Finance. Here we go. I don't know what this is. I don't know what it does. Obviously, it has to do with something to do with finance, but I don't know. I'm not going to touch it. It's not even worth a penny. It's basically worth 0.01 of a penny. So yeah, I always say be careful. Crypto, you can make money in crypto. You can lose money in crypto. And when you start getting into coins like this, your odds of losing money go up big time. So yeah, I would avoid these guys. Avoid these guys. Stick with your big boys. Stick with the Bitcoin, the Ethereum. I won't say BNB, but even Dogecoin. Dogecoin is not that bad. I don't like it, but it's not that bad. All right, let's get back to this view, and let's hit the chats. And the very first thing in the chat is we got ourselves a super. So that means Kevin Kess has knocked up our swag meter to 6, and it also means that they are the GOAT. So Kevin Kaz is the GOAT. Loving it, loving it, loving it. I will point out as well, guys, if we do 4 supers today, I will do a Friday stream. Simple as that. Actually, 4 supers, or maybe you want to donate a membership to somebody. I'll count that too. I'm pretty easygoing. Now with that swag meter up there, if we get in March, and it's still pretty early in the month, but if we get to 25, there'll be a swag giveaway. So that'll be cool. If we don't do it this month, we'll do it next month or whenever. I'm pretty easy about that. All right, let's take a look at the time. I was like totally running. And I'm like, I had no idea what the time is. We have about 2 minutes, a little bit less than 2 minutes until the bell. So if you don't like loud noises, or you get the headphones on and they're cranked up, just be warned, just be wary. In about 1.5 minutes, I'm going to ring that bell. It's a little loud, so you may want to turn the volume down. Always like to give people a warning when I can. So occasionally, if I forget, I then try to go really light on the bell. But yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. All right, Max is in the house first with a hi. All quite the chaos. It is. Oh boy, I am like, I've never seen things as chaotic. Like things move and evolve. Like you can quite literally go to the news page, read the articles, have yourself completely up to date on what the news is doing. 5 minutes later, it's all different. It's all different. Things have been moving quickly, fast. It is chaotic. That is, of course, that's the only word that we can actually use. We got Vic in the house, and we got to see some tech up huge, then down. Well, that's what chaos does, right? We're going to see. I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of volatility this year. This will be the year of the volatile. I don't think that's going to change. I think we have to almost be prepared for it. And personally, I am starting to look a little bit more towards defensive investing going forward this year. So, and we're going to talk more about that. Guys, we have about 5 seconds to the bell. So you have been warned. All right, here we go. Woo-hoo. The market The market is closed. Woohoo! All right. We got Stan Gray in the house with a hello all. Vic says, come in without hitting a like. How rude of me. Corrected my error. Well, there you go, guys. Hit that like button. Honestly, the reason, and I normally would forget. You guys normally remind me to remind you. When you do that, interaction with the channel, what it does, it helps the algorithm push it out to more people, and that's always a good thing. That brings more folks in, and you gotta love that. You gotta love that. All right, I have Jordan in the house. What's up, Candace? I hope you're well this fine Wednesday. Doing good, doing good. We got Larry. What a beautiful day. Let's see, TSLL 670 into 829. That's I believe that's the Tesla long. Nice. Let's see. You're also long on crude oil. Okay, very cool. Rory says, hi, Candace. Just got back from dental surgery. Woozy from drugs. Oh, boy. Yeah, good old dental surgery. That's never fun. But yeah, I'm I'm sort of, it's like one of the worst feelings I think in the world is when you come back from the dentist and you have that just that numbness through your mouth, and it's like, you're that's just horrible. It's horrible. All right. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. That's what I was responding to. It didn't click up. So now we go. Patricia is in the house. Hi. This will be a rocky year. Yeah. This year is going to be pretty much crazy. I know I was watching BNN earlier, and they were talking about, they actually think the volatility is going to last until 2026, when they have the renegotiation of the North America trade deal. And that would be interesting. And that might very well be. That might be when we finally get this all nailed down. So yeah, look forward to a lot of volatility. And you need to sort of look at, there's two ways you can approach this, really. One, you can say, okay, I'm going to keep averaging down on the stocks that I have a lot of confidence in. And that there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely fantastic. Some people, though, need to see some green in their portfolio. Some people are like, I don't know if I want to be doing that. I'm gonna panic if my entire portfolio is deep in the red and it looks like I'm out a whole bunch of money. Of course, keep in mind, you're not out any money until you click on sell. So as long as you don't click on sell, if that's a company that has good fundamentals, you're going to be fine. You'll be fine on the other side, and you'll make a lot of money, especially if you are dollar cost averaging in while the markets go lower. But the other way is some people will go into a fully defensive investing. So they'll be like, okay, who isn't going to be in the bottom? Who isn't going to be red all the way through this mess? Who is safer? And in a case like that, you can look to, well, one sector you can look to is utilities. Utilities going to be strong. Utilities love low rates. We got that. We actually got a rate cut today, another 25 basis points off the table. So they love these low rates. They're getting the low rates. Great. So yeah, go with utilities for sure. You got low rates. You also have high demand. So there's going to be demand. It doesn't matter whether it's a recession, whether it's a bull market, a bear market. People need power. Power's not going to, people are not going to sort of say no to power. You can't even function today pretty much without power. So utilities are in that sweet spot where they're going to keep on doing it. They're going to keep on powering us up for a fee. And that's going to help keep their cash flows pretty stable. And also, you got to realize too, a lot of companies, power companies are regulated. So there's a lot of regulation. And a lot of times there's even deals that are put in like, we'll provide this amount of electricity over this amount of time at this rate. So sometimes the rates are absolutely fixed. So even if the economy starts sputtering, they'll still have a pretty constant source of revenue that's coming in. So those are going to be good. And I've done a video on Dollarama. Dollarama is going to be another one that is going to be fine. They'll have plenty of green days through the through the whole cycle. Doesn't mean they won't come down a little bit. Of course they will. But you're going to get more green, I think, than red. Other companies like, I know I did a video recently on Extendicare. There's another one. That's a company that they provide long care homes. Now, because they do that, they have pretty much a steady source of income. When we go into a recession, when the economy isn't doing so great, it's not like people will sort of say, oh, well, I'm going to stop being old now. The economy won't let me be old. No, we're still going to need it. We're still, and there's going to be more demand for long care homes than not, because we got the baby boomers. They're moving into that. They're moving into, some of them. The upper echelon of the baby boomers are getting to that age where they might need that little extra help, and it's going to happen. People will still be using them. So a company like EXE, for example, is going to do well. SIA, they might actually do a little bit better, though I do like EXE's fundamentals a little bit better, but we'll just leave it like that. We'll leave it like that for now. The railroads. Yeah, the railroads are kind of an interesting one. They're going to go up and down, but the reality is, they do move things across the border, but they're not the ones who are actually importing the stuff they're carrying, right? So importers are the ones that are paying the tariffs, not the train companies. Where they might get impacted is if, as the tariffs progress, if there becomes less demand for some of the Canadian goods, they may have a little bit less to haul down there. But here's the thing. They have a healthy business domestically as well within Canada, moving stuff across the country. That's not going to be impacted at all. So that stream is going to still come along. The pipelines. So we're looking at Pembina, also Enbridge. Those pipelines are going to be, they're still going to be pumping a lot of oil into the States. It doesn't matter what the tariffs are. It doesn't matter if Trump says, we don't need Canadian oil. Yeah, you do. You really do. If you think you don't, then you're a little bit of an idiot. That's the best way to say it. So we do, those oil's going to keep moving it through the pipelines. Enbridge has is also a utility company, so they have that going for them too. So there's a lot of companies you can sort of move into in that direction, and it really depends on, honestly, it depends on what your comfort levels are and what strategy you want to take. So there's a lot of different strategies, and we'll be exploring them. We'll be exploring them a lot, I think, coming up. Anyway, rant over. Let's get back to the chat. Mary is in the house with a hello, everyone. And that means, once again, guys, hit that like button if you haven't yet. I'm going to have some coffee while you guys are doing that. Very good. I love it. Tom says, Air Canada closed at $15.44. Are you snagging some? Yes. So, Air Canada. And you know what, guys? Let's pull this up here. I haven't been excited about Air Canada in a bit, but I am now, because we have this swing trade I like to do in the challenge. And that trade is when Air Canada is under, last time it was under $16. I'm revising it to when it's under 17. So I'm going to buy some shares every single month when it's under 17. And actually, guys, let me pull up to the 1 year. Here we go. So yeah, anytime it's under roughly here. So in this bottom part in here, I'll be adding shares every single month. And when it gets back, but last time I did 20. Last time I said 20. When it gets back to 20, I'll sell them. That's what I did. But What I'm going to do is this time around, you know what? I think I'll go with 22, to be honest. I'm going to keep on buying when they're under 17. And when it gets above 22, I'm going to sell them and then wait until they eventually come back down. Maybe they won't again. It's hard to say, but um, I'm looking forward to it. This is to me a really good. It's a good swing trade, and the longer it takes, and this is the thing, I'm patient. Like right now, I'm sitting on about 40 shares. Because as you guys know, the challenge, it's limited. There's only a certain amount of money in the challenge, so I have to kind of work with what I have in the challenge. But yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I do love this Air Canada move, and I know Tom followed me last time, and Tom made a killing on that swing trade. So I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. Kievancast says, how can you renegotiate a trade deal that has been reneged on by the U.S.? I know. I mean, the thing is, pretty much the only way is, for one, you got to make Donald think it's all his idea. It also has to appear like he's made a big victory with it. And that might be, and here's my honest opinion is this. I think these tariffs are going to be such a I don't even have a word for it. I want to say goddamned. Yeah, that's probably the best. They're going to be such a goddamned holy banana bread level of a disaster. And, he's going to hurt the U.S. He's going to hurt Canada. He's pretty much going to wreck the North American economy with these. So when that renegotiation comes up, I think that's going to be his way out. At that point, he should realize how royally he has effed everything up. And that might be his ticket to get out of the tariffs and say, "Oh yeah, we had tough negotiations. I want a great deal for the U.S. Nobody's taking advantage of us anymore. We have a fair deal." I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to happen. So we'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna swear anymore though. That was awkward. It's always awkward when I try to swear. Definitely. Tom says, well said, Kiev and Kaz. Yeah, absolutely. Isaac says, I bought more CNR yesterday. I got Air Canada just before it closed today. Nice. I did add another share of CNR to the challenge. Well, the price was down. I had to. Danielle says, hello from Montreal, Quebec. Love these drops. Looking to buy more Brookfield and HYLD. HYLD. I will say one thing about HYLD. They do use leverage. So I always say when the markets are falling, you want to be a little bit careful. Now, buying them towards the bottom, like buying HYLD towards the bottom, I think is a fantastic move. But in the middle of falling, I usually say just be a little careful because, that 25% leverage means that you're going to fall 25% faster. So always be a little careful with HYLD. But other than that, I do love HYLD. I will put that there. And Vic was saying, I'm thinking the same, but triggered shy. I agree with your Trump thinking. Good old Trump. Well, here's what you gotta love about him. He makes the world interesting. Maybe not in a good way, but he definitely makes it interesting for sure. Tom says, couldn't agree more with you about Trump, Candace, a pride thing. Yeah, and that's a thing. I mean, Trump, he's a businessman, but he's also, he doesn't know how to lose. So take that for what it means. And that's in his role, that's a dangerous thing. So he has to, in one way or another, he has to find a victory, even if he completely manufactures it. I mean, look at what happened when he lost the last election. Let's see, we had stormed insurrection on the Capitol Hill. Stopped the steal, refuses to acknowledge that he lost. So yeah, that's how he is in a loss. He just can't accept losing. So you gotta let him manufacture a win one way or another to get out of this. Otherwise, he's that type of person that. Have you ever met that? If you've met one of these people who is almost always wrong, but they will argue until the cows come home that they're right. I've known people like that, and Trump is kind of in that camp, and he will argue until he finds. And even if inside he knows he's wrong, he will find a way to justify that he's somehow right. He has to get that victory. All right. Danielle says, thank you for your advice on HYLD. That's just one of those things. I always like, it's one of these things because most people, if you're looking at HYLD, if you don't actually go and visit the website, you may not realize that there's leverage in there. So that's one of the reasons I just want people to be aware that, they do use that. All right. Bismarcky says, if these cash let's get any lower, I'll be paying them interest every month. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Donald Trump, he doesn't really play by rules. I mean, look at the US right now. Sometimes I even think right now, like, do we even have Congress in the States anymore? Because he's kind of he's just creating, emergency left, right, and center, and using that to kind of bypass everything. His power is just going crazy, Now, the Republicans are, mind you, the Republican House is letting him do it. I think they're all afraid of him too, to be honest. So in 2 years, the American people will have their chance to stop him a little bit. They can, they can certainly vote in a Democratic House, and then that'll put a bit of a leash on him. Well, it'll hopefully put a leash on him. So we're going to have to see how that all works out. Oh, boy. Seabass says, hi from Quebec City. I'm a boring index ETF investor, very diversified and just sticking to the plan. Not even worried. We've seen worse in the last century. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, with the challenge. So what I'm doing is I have sold out a few positions to move into some more defensive ones. But once I've done that, I'm pretty much just going to be dollar cost averaging through while this happens. Now, right now, I think we have a good amount to fall. So I'm not at the point yet where I'm going to start touching cash positions to start buying some of the deals that we're getting now. I'm just going to keep adding up to the cash positions until I feel like we've fallen enough that the bottom. I don't want to say that it's in, because you'll never know when it's in, but you'll have it. I think we'll have a general idea. I think right now we probably have a good 20% to fall over the next couple of. Well, I don't want to say couple of years, maybe over the next year. It really depends on how this is all going to unroll. But we are looking at, we're more than likely looking at a recession in Canada. And believe it or not, we're looking at a recession in the United States. That's what Trump is doing. He has taken a U.S. economy that was strong, and there was really no chance for a recession. But he's showing he knows how to achieve the impossible. So I think I'm going to actually start calling it a Trump session. So they're going to have a Trump session. And that will probably anger him if he hears it. I know I heard the other day he was really upset because somebody was calling inflation Trumpflation. So, but it is. I mean, it really is Trumpflation, and it's going to be a Trump session. It's going to be, yeah. It's not going to be nice. It's not going to be nice. It will be, although here's the thing though. If you're on a long term, like right now, if you're on the verge of retirement right now, then this sucks. This absolutely sucks for you. No doubt about it. But if you have a little bit of a runway, then you're going to have some opportunities over the next year, 2 years, who knows, maybe even 3 or 4 years the way it's going. But you're going to have opportunities to really start getting some things at rock bottom prices, so that on the other side of all of this, so Trump, when Trump is gone, when, we have some new president who's, not so sensitive, perhaps a lot more reasonable. When that happens, what we're going to see is we are going to see, these things start to rebound. We're going to see them come up. And all of the stuff that you bought at rock bottom, you're going to be making some profits on those. And that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. All right. Holy banana bread. So we have a gifted sub from Jonathan Montgomery and Seabass. Congratulations. Jonathan has gifted a sub to Seabass. And guys, that does make Jonathan the GOAT. And as I said, those are going to count. And I'm going to knock the swag meter up to 7. There we go. Thank you, Jonathan. Always great. Always great. And Jonathan actually just recently won a membership. So that's fantastic. It's like he's passed it on. He's passed it on. This is great. All right. Let's get back to where we were. Isaac says, Trump has to win all the time, so just make him feel he won by letting him say he won. Yeah, absolutely. He's kind of one of those things. It's kind of like when I run into, as I mentioned before, the people who think they know everything. When I run into one of them, and why do I have that? I can move so easily between these. I need to keep doing that. Bringing back full screen here while we're just chatting away here. So yeah, he's very much like that. If I run into somebody who thinks, one of those know-it-all type people, I won't even waste the energy trying to correct them. Especially, and you'll get a lot of I run into it mostly in science. Mostly I'll run into somebody who comes out with some things on the scientific scale, some statement that is absolutely wrong. And I could sit there and actually break down all the data as to why it's wrong, but I won't even try. I'll just be like, oh yeah, that's interesting. And I'll leave it alone. I've learned to never waste my energy on somebody who thinks they know everything and is not willing to listen, and I always look at, like, I know a lot, oh boy, did that sound egotistical, but I've got a wide breadth of knowledge. And even, I'm wrong every so often, for sure. And I will always listen. If somebody comes to me and says, oh, I don't think you're right on that one, I'll be like, okay, sure. Tell me why. And, I'll also go and research it, because I'm totally willing to, if I'm wrong, I'm totally willing to say, yeah, I'm wrong on that. Let's make my, let's learn a little bit. Learning is fun. So nothing wrong with that. Isaac says, I'm 61. So you got 4 years, maybe longer, depending. It really depends. I mean, a lot of people today don't retire at 65 anymore. I know my mom, she's 70. She's got to be around 75, 76, somewhere's in that vicinity. And she's just starting to think about retiring, but she hasn't yet. So she is still working, All right. And of course, this is, yes, the Seabass on the Jonathan train. There we go. All right. Seabass says 70% of the U.S. GDP is from American consumers. So the consumer trust index is a major factor in their economy. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be, I think that we're going to see a lot of really interesting stuff over the next, I will even say the next 6 months. I think, we're going to get to a point that Trump is going to realize that he is absolutely shooting the American economy in the foot. I think he's going to get an idea. But I think at that point, I think he's going to be in too deep. He's going to be in too deep. You know, and just some of the crazy as well. And this is the thing. It's like he has surrounded himself with people who are not going to stand up to him. And some of them are, you know, like look at RFK Jr. I mean, you know, he's kind of like, oh, well, you know, there's a measles outbreak going on in Texas. And he's like, well, you know, you don't need to get the vaccine for the measles. It needs to be a personal choice. And maybe it's, I actually heard him say that it might be nutrition. As long as you eat better, you'll be fine. Yeah, the measles doesn't exactly work that way. You know, it's a highly contagious disease. And when people were vaccinated against the measles, you almost never heard of them. You know, they kind of disappeared. Now they're back in big time. And it's just one of these things. We got, you know, and I mean, I respect people's right to choose. Like, you know, if you say, I don't want to be vaccinated, okay, fine. You know, you have that right. But I also think that we shouldn't get to a point where, because it all comes down to herd immunity, right? If you have a small segment of the population that decides they don't want to be vaccinated, they're still going to be probably fine. And the reason they're going to be fine is that you have herd immunity, right? Most of the herd, if they're vaccinated and are not getting these diseases, the chances of them, you know, of you getting exposed to something like measles, for example, becomes significantly lower. But if you get to a point where a lot of people are choosing not to be vaccinated, then you lose that herd immunity. And at that point, then if you're unvaccinated, you do have a better chance of running into whether it be the measles, whether it be the flu. You know, it's kind of an interesting thing. But anyway, that's good old vaccination stuff. Biscuit says, hi, everyone. Any word on the BDT earnings? BDT. Let me take a look here. That, of course, is our good old, and I'll pull them up here, Bird Construction. All right. So let's see. So March 12th. So that is today. Well, we'll head over here, and I'm going to see if I have any data yet. But let's take a look here. BDT. I'm going to add this to our list. All right. Now let's head on in. So it must be right now. I've still got nothing yet coming through. And let's just take a look here. Yeah, I'll have our previews so far. So we have not heard anything yet, but we will have this data. Obviously, if they did badly in their earnings, then we're going to see that tomorrow when they open. But let me point something out here. Actually, let's just go to the 1 year. Yeah, they've been on a, oh boy. Yeah, these earnings could be a miss. They could be a miss because they have been on a downslide through that quarter. Depending on which, let's see there. No, wait a minute. These are Q4. All right, so Q4. All right, still, yeah, but they had this big giant explosion in Q4. These earnings could be interesting. They could be very interesting. They might, that one move in there might actually really impact. Yeah, because that was at the beginning of this session. So this will be interesting. I'll keep my eyes. Right now we have nothing, but we'll see. I'm still bullish. Like, I really like Bird Construction. And even right now, while they're down, I will buy because I have a lot of faith in them long term, but they are a company that they will definitely be impacted by the tariffs. It's not a heavy impact, but it's going to be it'll be a pretty good impact for sure. Ian says, let's see, just got here, can't stay. Did you talk about WCP yet? WCP. No, I did not. Let me. All right. So here we go. So Whitecap Resources. And now they're on a bit of a tear today. They're on a bit of a tear. Let me pull this up here. All right. So yeah, I mean today they've moved up a little bit. I'm going to come up to the 1 year. So Whitecap Resources, they have been doing, well, not a lot really. They've basically been pretty sideways until, of course, recently they had quite the drop. Now part of the reason why they're mostly sideways is they have a pretty darn good dividend, 8.79%. So most of their money is being paid out to shareholders. So you don't have a lot of growth on them. But also at the same time, and if you take a look here, you'll see that they basically, let's see here, they develop and hold interest in petroleum and natural gas. So that sector as well has had a kind of a ho-hum year as well. So that certainly didn't help them. If we go back, and you can see, and this is kind of one of these things, when you step back, because we were looking at this little part here, we step back and we kind of see that, yeah, well, you know what? It kind of continues, and we'll go back as well. Now we go back to 5 years, and you can sort of see here that at one point they were doing pretty good on the growth, but it'd be interesting to take a look and see what their dividend was like during this phase. Whether or not they increased it, I'm not sure. I'd have to look a bit deeper into it. But I do like them. I think they're a solid company for sure. They will be impacted a little bit by the 10% tariff, but at the same time, let's go into the key data here for a second. Here's another good part. They've only got 20% debt to equity ratio, and look at this. Their return on equity 21.27%, return on assets 12.21. These are healthy numbers. So they have some of their fundamentals, I think, are pretty darn healthy. And I'm kind of curious about one thing here. Let's just go to Simply Wall Street here for a second. And we go, WCP. There we go. Yeah, so this is interesting. Let's see, trading at a good... So yeah, we know that they're... Let's see. Yeah, well, this part here gets me a little bit too. This is their risk analysis. So they're saying that the earnings are forecast to decline by about 9.5% per year. That's it helps if I share the screen. Thank you, Northern Gal. Oh boy. Yeah, okay. This really helps. Dear Banana Bread. Yeah, one of the big concerns is their earnings have. Most people think the earnings are going to be dropping over the next few years. That's not going to help them too much. So I don't see a lot of movement forward. So what does that mean when it comes to things like, for example, their dividend? It's hard to say. I think it might be something they might consider pulling back. They might consider cutting a bit. I think that they should, but it's hard to say what they're going to do. I still like coming back here once again. So yeah, this is their some of their key data. So as I mentioned before, 20% debt to equity. Love that. Their return on equity, 21.27%. I'm loving that. And I'll go back here once again and sort of go back to that 5 year. This is what I was kind of talking about, how they've been sort of flat for since about 2022. They were doing fine up to the pandemic and then through that bear market, through that bull market, but they've never really recovered. They've been moving forward. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I do like them. I do like them. They're not my favorite oil company, but I do like them. Actually, if you want to know one of my favorites, I actually really like Torlamine. And I'll pull up Torlamine for a second since we're here. They've had a good 5 days. That's a nice little move up. But let's go to their 5 year. And you can see now they're kind of doing the same thing, right? They've had a big build up and then everything's been moving sideways. So, and that's oil and gas. Oil, we've not had the best, probably almost 2 years on oil. And I'm very bullish on oil overall. but we have not had the best time. So yeah, with WCP, the fact that they're following the West the way everybody else is, I'm feeling a little bit more. That's making me feel a little bit more confident on them. But yeah, it's still it depends on what. Now, oil is one of these one of those things that could be really interesting. What I like about oil is that we still need oil. We still need power. We still, there's such a huge demand for oil that I don't think that the energy companies are really going to get hurt that bad by the tariffs. And keep in mind, the U.S. has only hit energy with 10%. That's because they need our oil. They need heavy crude, and they're either going to get it from us or they're going to get it from Venezuela. Because keep in mind, and this is the argument Trump says, he says, oh, we produce enough of our own oil. We're fine. Yeah, well, you're not fine right now because the stuff you're producing is light crude. Most of your oil capacity, production capacity, is for heavy crude. So because you're geared for heavy crude, you need that heavy crude. And the reality is, this is the beauty of it for the United States, is that we don't have a lot of production on our own. So we got all of this heavy crude. We're selling it at them. We're selling it to the United States pretty cheap. And in fact, a barrel of heavy crude, when we sell that to them, they'll process that and they'll sell a barrel of light crude onto the world market. And they're actually making more from that barrel that they're selling than the barrel that they're buying. So, when you talk about a trade deficit, not really. You've got a sweet deal with Canadian oil. That is not a trade deficit, and the funny thing is when you take the oil off the table, which they're making a killing on, when you take that off the table, Canada actually buys more from the U.S. than the U.S. buys from us. So in that sense, I guess we're subsidizing the U.S. So, Donald might have it completely wrong, which is typical anyway. But yeah. Anyway, back to Torlamine, WCP. I think they're strong. Like, you look at Torlamine as well, and I'm going to pull up theirs, and you can see in this case your debt to equity ratio even smaller, 8%. But look at this. They've only got 8.55% on their return on equity. So, WCP is actually kicking their butt there. So yeah, it's a good company. It is a good company. It's not my favorite, but it is a good company. And I have invested in them before. So, all right. Let's see this. You see that the ICC arrested Dirt. Oh, I think I saw something about it. I think I saw, that's some of the stuff that ICE has been doing has been really, really crazy. Showing the screen now. I'm showing the screen. Well, I am, but I want to come back to here for because we got ourselves a super sticker from Mary that knocks us up to 8, and it also means that Mary is our new goat. So there we go. That also means that we are one super or membership away from a Friday stream. So not too shabby. Awesome. And I imagine Trump will have a lot of crazy stuff to do between now and Friday. So definitely won't be a shortage of stuff to talk about. That's for sure. Muddy Waters in the house with a hi all. Let's see. Whoops, here we go. How was the market for me today? I chose not to look today, taking the day off from the Trump taxes and associated chaos. Oh, Muddy. Muddy. You picked the green day not to look at the market. But yeah, the market was in the green today. In fact, let's boop over here. Boop up to the TSX. Alexa, go away. And as you can see, we actually finished up 0.72, although the end of the day, we had a couple of red candles. At the end of the day. So yeah, Technically, the day was green, but there definitely were some good deals. Like, for example, that Air Canada deal. Definitely a fantastic price. And what was it again? Let's go back here. We'll go back to Air Canada one last time. So yeah, 1544. Yeah, look at this. And heck, if you bought in here, look at this right here. They got down as low as 1540 just before close. So you know, maybe you got a real killing, but or look, oh my God, look over here. 1520, 1528. You could have got Air Canada. Oh, I can't believe it. I did it again. I did it again. There we go. Down in here, you could have got Air Canada at 1528. So this is the Air Canada right now. So you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Now keep in mind, Air Canada. One of the things that Air Canada and WestJet are going to be experiencing is, well, a lot of people are not going to be taking their vacations to the United States this year as part of the Canada Strong movement. So you're going to see a lot of people choose to vacation other places. Now, mind you, if Air Canada can probably get flights to other parts of the world that are probably going to be fine, and plus domestic flights will probably be big time. This might be that year where somebody in Ontario, instead of going to visit, to some place in the States, the Grand Canyon or something, maybe they go to Dinosaur Provincial Park in Alberta instead. So fly to Calgary. So yeah, there's going to be, I think they'll still be fine. I think they'll be fine. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good on it. All right. AA says, today was Green Day, kind of. Do you think the worst is over, or will there be more downside? We have April 2nd is the day when Donald Trump is going to hit everybody back with all of his reciprocal tariffs. I have a feeling that could be a very interesting day. And, at this point now, here's the thing. I have a feeling the worst is not over by a long shot. I do think that the market overall, we're looking at moving down. So it's going to happen. I think it's kind of this thing. If we move into a recession, obviously a bear market is probably going to be hand in hand with that. So, look at some of the prices today, and you might see like 20% deals, like tomorrow, not tomorrow, sorry, but, towards the end of the year. If it depends on how this all works out. There's always still hope that Trump can come to his senses, that we can get some kind of a resolution that sort of saves everything from, going down the toilet. But, it's just not looking hopeful that that's going to happen. So, I like to be cautious. And a lot of times when, you got a lot of YouTubers out there going on about the sky is falling and, we're all in trouble and we gotta, you gotta start selling everything, turn everything to cash. I'm usually like, all right, guys, don't do anything so rash. It's going to be fine. I mean, it is going to be fine. But I think that there is enough evidence right now. And we're already seeing some of the fear. Like, we haven't even seen the real effects yet, guys. What we're seeing right now is the fear. Because even today, you know what? Yeah, the tariffs came on aluminum and steel, 25%. And these ones today, it's not just Canada. This is the world. Everybody in the world is paying those tariffs. Well, they're not paying them. The U.S. is paying tariffs on any steel that's not American, pretty much. So it doesn't matter if it's coming from Finland or Zimbabwe or Liechtenstein. I don't even know if Liechtenstein has. I mean, that's the smallest country in the world, so they probably don't have steel. But I'm just saying, we got a lot of interesting stuff coming our way, and the chances of us just bouncing back. So as I was mentioning before, what we're seeing though right now is we're seeing the fear. People are afraid. They know what's going to probably happen to the market. And so people are like, so if there's a recession coming, I need to sell. So there's nothing like having people believe a recession's coming to create a recession. So that is part of it. Now, the actual effects and impacts on the economy, it does take time to filter in. And, it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet, but we're feeling it. And some businesses, for example, some businesses have already started laying people off. So all of these impact effects and people getting laid off, that's just kind of another scenario right there. So that is kind of a real effect. So it's going to get bad. It will get bad. It really boils down to, I think, if you approach this with a calm head and, come up with a logical investing strategy, then I think you'll be fine. And long term, like I said, if you have the luxury of a long runway, you're going to be fine. You are going to be fine. So just something to keep in mind. All right. Isaac says, I'm planning to travel within Canada this summer. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are so many cool things in Canada. I mean, there really, really are. If you've only been in one half of the country, whether it be Western Canada, whether it be Eastern Canada, holy banana bread. There are incredible things waiting for you on the other side of the country. So yeah, absolutely. EL says, here in Tel Aviv, they say Trump is an orange swan in the markets. Well, I wouldn't. I don't know if I would agree with that. I mean, he's orange. He's absolutely orange. I'll give him that. And it's funny, like Trump has said, and this is kind of an interesting thing. Trump has said that, oh yes, the issues we're having with the market, this is Biden's mess. It's like, no. This is fear caused by all of this tariff stuff. This is entirely on you. I've even heard Fox News. I've heard Fox News saying, oh, yes, there's a recession coming. It's a Biden recession. Biden's created the recession. It's like, no, we didn't. This is, once again, it's all Trump. So if you have a swan, an orange swan, and that can't fly, then yeah, maybe we could argue that Trump is an orange swan. Or wait a minute. I think I completely misread your. So you're thinking orange swan as like a black swan event, but orange. I got it now. Duh. Oh boy, it took me a second there, but that's absolutely awesome. You know what? Tel Aviv, you have gained my respect with that comment. I love it. Awesome. That is great. Muddy says, we are planning our next vacation to Vancouver. We were supposed to go to Vegas this summer. Vegas is now canceled and booked Vancouver instead. Yes. And they have a casino at Vancouver if you want to lose money. So I think you're good. Eric has come in and said, hi, all. Hello, Eric. Good to see you. And we get the Banana Bread Company with a $2. You received a tariff. I love it. That's fantastic. So the Banana Bread Company is, they're now the GOAT. They are now the GOAT. Awesome sauce. And that puts the swag meter up to 9. Woohoo. And that's number 4. So that means we get a show on Friday. So Friday, we'll be back here. We'll be doing this all over again. I love it. Thank you, Banana Bread Company. So you got to love it. Whoops. I guess we can go big screen now. Let's see. I love the new GOAT. Yeah. And I should make more. I really should make more. So right now, video wise, I mean, we got 4 goats and, we got our beaver. This is, might as well show it. This is the Canadian response. We're getting ready for a trade war. Here we are. Getting ready for the trade war. Oh boy. So yeah, I should make a few more of these. I should make a few more because they're fun. They're definitely fun, for sure. So yeah. Yeah, no, I like the goat one. it's kind of one of these things, like, especially now with like Sora. Sora makes it really easy. You gotta love AI. With before AI, I was kind of limited to the things I could do. Because I'm running a channel in the red, so it's like I can't I can't afford to hire a bunch of people to do stuff. But now I don't have to. I got AI can do these. They do the videos. I also use AI as well for the pictures of when we do this week. So, and I don't think I have. I think I may have actually deleted last Sunday's ones. Yeah, I did. Or wait a minute, I have one left. So I'll just show you guys. So we have these little graphics that we use for this week. So, I use beavers just because, we're a Canadian channel. What's more beaver? What's more Canadian than a beaver? So what can I say? Let's go back to the big screen. Here we go. So yeah. The other thing that happened this week as well is, of course, Mark Carney. Mark Carney got he's our new leader of the Liberal Party and will be the next prime minister. Now, rumor has it that he is looking to call an election fairly fast. So we could very well be going to the polls either the end of April or the very beginning of May. So I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if we have an election call by the next episode. So the next market close, we might already have an election call. So from my understanding, he's supposed to be officially the PM. I actually kind of expected it today. So hopefully by tomorrow. Yeah, what can I say? Vic says, I feel bad for Freeland. Only 8% of the vote. Well, that's because a lot of the Liberals are Disney Plus fans, and she lost a lot of votes with her Disney Plus comment from way back when. You gotta say. Solar says, my guess is the 16th is when it will be called. So okay, so Solar is saying the 16th. I imagine. So you're talking. What is that? Is that Monday? Something like that. So yeah, yeah, that would be Monday. So you're thinking Monday. Interesting. It could. I mean, it might. Yeah, they could go until Monday, I suppose. Yeah, that would be very interesting. And I do know that Carney wants to get a meeting with Donald Trump sooner than later. Have to see how that goes. We'll have to see how that goes. I mean, that's going to be interesting. Like, when you look at the polls, the Liberals have been surging in the polls lately because, Carney has been saying the right words when it comes to Trump, when it comes to a response. And Polyev has not really been that strong on the response yet. He's been changing his words, but so far he hasn't. And that has, that's hurt them in the polls a little bit. Now, it hasn't hurt them as much as you think. It's hurt them a little, but amazingly enough, one of the other phenomenons that's been happening is that the NDP have been losing a lot of their support, and that's been moving into the Liberals. So that has been pushing up the Liberal Party as well. But here's where the rubber hits the metal, or the pedal hits the metal, or the rubber hits the hits the road. I don't know. I don't even know what that saying is. I probably shouldn't have even started it. But where we're really going to get interesting is that there's a saying, the proof is in the pudding. Well, let's see how his interactions with Trump go. Because if he absolutely fails miserably with Trump, that could very well hurt his standing. But if he starts to get some respect from Trump, and even if he makes a little bit of progress, that could be really good for the Liberals in the polls. So I'm kind of excited. I love this guilty secret. I love elections. I love just watching it. I love the polls. I just sort of love watching an election. Now, not to the point that I want us to just have a string of minority government so we can have a sooner election. But I do find elections a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward. I will bring, we'll have like our news from the Hill will probably become our we have a news from the Hill section in the news that we do on the weekend. That'll probably become the election beat. So that'll be cool. Northern Gal says Monday is what most are speculating has to be before proration is over. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it has to be soon. I'm thinking Monday is probably a better day. I mean, I would love to have it happen before Friday, but honestly, I think you guys are probably right about Monday. You remember how I said I can be wrong? There we go. I'm conceding. I'm conceding the Monday to you guys because I think you're right. I think you're right. AA says, sorry, I can't forget the last 9 years just because they changed the face. Yeah, and there's going to be people like that for sure. Absolutely. That's the biggest challenge, I think. And I think it's also the reason that Carney completely cleaned house when it comes to, when I say cleaned house, I'm talking about with that vote. I mean, that was probably one of the most decisive wins ever. And I think the reason is that he's that one person who, because he's not even in the party, doesn't even hold a seat. Well, Bayless was also in the same boat, but it is a great way to try to get that distance. The party, I think, knows they need as much distance between Trudeau or between the new leader and Trudeau as possible because they've got to get the taste of Trudeau out of everybody's mouth. It's not an easy thing to do. It is not an easy thing to do. And honestly, that's like when you look at Karina Gould, if you look at Freeland, that's why they did so badly, because they both were intricate parts of his government. Because, well, I mean, Chrystia was like the finance minister, the deputy PM up until they had that little fallout in December. Karina Gould, she was the House leader. So, yeah, the only two that had any kind of separation, of course, was Bayless and Carney. And Carney, was actually advising. Now, this is the interesting thing, though. Carney had been advising the government for a little while. One of the things we don't know, and this is where I have to sort of say that, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt, is we don't know whether or not Trudeau actually took his advice. Because Trudeau was one of those leaders that it didn't matter what the party said. He would often just do what he wanted anyway. That was kind of one of those things. So I would have to know whether or not Trudeau actually took any of Carney's advice, or if he sort of just did his own thing anyway. And that, hopefully that information comes out during the campaign, or maybe it won't, but it would be interesting to know. That's one of the things I'm just saying here. AA says, I find it difficult to believe Freeland got so few votes in her hometown. Here's the thing, though. It will be very interesting to see the polling in individual ridings. So for example, those people who are really front and center with Trudeau, like Freeland, I have a hard time imagining she could win her seat back. Hard time. Also Karina Gould, I think she'll probably lose her seat. Even if, let's just say that some of these new polls stay true, and let's say the Liberals somehow come through and got a minority again. Let's just say, I think that both Karina Gould and Chrystia Freeland are not probably going to win their seats, just because of that, their connection. I think everybody else is probably mostly okay, but it'll be interesting to see. I can't wait to sort of see the breakdown. And actually, I know I saw something, I think was it yesterday? Or somebody was telling me that apparently Jagmeet in the polls for his riding right now is out of contention, or not out of contention, but he's not leading. He has a good chance of not winning his seat. So that could be interesting. That could be very, very interesting. But yeah, what can we say? What can we say? All right, guys, if you have your last minute questions, get them in here, and we will we'll jump on them. We'll jump on them for sure. I'm gonna have some coffee while you guys are composing away. Yeah, it's been another good stream. I'm liking it. Your damn it says, had Trudeau made better decisions, he could have been a national hero, well on his way to winning another term. I would agree. I think, I mean, Trudeau had a lot going for him. He had popularity. He had the hearts of the nation. I mean, the country for the most part liked him. Obviously, your people who are core conservative are going to be like, no, we didn't. But he did have a lot of, and it's kind of interesting when you look at Canada, right? You have a core of right wing, or I don't want to say right wing, but right people on the right. You have a core of people on the left, and then you have this big mass in the middle that they ungulate back and forth depending on the cycle that we're in, and that's the group that the parties are basically fighting for. It's like, hey, come to our side this time. Give us a majority. Let's do something great. But that's kind of that whole thing that we have. So the thing with Trudeau is he was very popular in that area, but he got to that point where I think once he got a little bit deep in, and then of course when the pandemic came, even at the beginning of the pandemic, he was handling it fairly well. And yeah, there was a little bit of problems with some of the supports with the initial CERB that came out. And here's that thing. They should have, I can understand getting the supports out quickly because, with everybody in lockdown, yeah, people needed it. Great, fine. But what you do is, you tighten it up. You tighten it up as fast as you can. You get people working on it right away. So even if, a month into it, you sort of, you tighten it down so that you're not getting some of the fraudulent stuff that was happening. That would be fantastic. And at that point, he began to lose a little bit of credibility. But what really, really hurt him is when he called a snap election. When he called a snap election in a pandemic, ended up not really gaining anything, got another minority out of it. That should never have happened. I think that cost him a lot. And at that point, he started doubling down on things. And things kind of got a little bit out of control. And I don't know how we sort of let it get so far out of control, but he did. And what can we say? Now we're at a point where, he's now a footnote. He is now a footnote. Maybe he's only the prime minister officially until Monday, but he really hasn't been the prime minister since, quite literally since December. He really hasn't. Northern Gal says Jagmeet has been out for a while. His riding no longer exists, was split in two. Yeah. And that's fine. I honestly think, I think the NDP probably needs a new leader as well. Jagmeet is, he'll always be associated strongly with Trudeau, I think, because of that whole supply and confidence deal. So they probably could use a new leader. And honestly, and I was saying this, I actually said this to Jill. I said the best thing that could happen to the Liberals Party is if the Liberals and NDP could find a way to actually merge instead of having crazy deals, like, because that does hurt them a little bit, and I think it would be nice to have just, not sort of have, like, the NDP has never really been significant at all. At one point, if you think about it, on the right, at one point, the Liberals were always winning because the right was kind of split back when you had the Reform Party and the old Conservative Party. Because when they merged, I mean, that gave them a better footing. That certainly set up the Stephen Harper years for sure. So I don't know. But would they be too powerful? That would be the thing. It's like, because, the Liberals still have enough of a, they still have enough to do their runs. I mean, if the NDP were part of them, then think about it. The last election, they would have had a majority still. So it's hard to say. I just can't wait to see what's going to happen. Lizzie says, let's see, when Trudeau starts bad spending hard taxpayer money, he'll broke loose. Yeah. I mean, and that was kind of one of these things. They were throwing out a bit too much money. And that money has to, it always has to. The books always have to balance in the end, and that's the thing. He put us in a situation where now I'm going to be really fair because you know a lot of people are like, all the inflation is his fault. It wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, the world had inflation. Everybody was facing inflation. The US was facing inflation. Europe was facing inflation. So you can't lay it all on Trudeau's lap. And some people like Polyev was calling it just inflation. Yeah, yeah, Polyev makes trendy little things like that. That's what he does. But you have to have some fairness. Could we have recovered faster from inflation if he hadn't been throwing supports left, right, and center? Absolutely. And that's kind of what you have to look at, not the inflation itself per se. And luckily now, I mean, inflation is under control for now, but we are going to get tariff-induced inflation. So, and it's kind of interesting because, we'll have to sort of see, because the problem is, and I mentioned this back with my example on maple syrup, if we are charging a 25% tariff on an American product, the Canadian alternatives might go up as well, just a little bit, because that's just the way capitalism works. Hopefully not so much. I think right now, people are kind of at that point right now where I think there's enough nationalism and Canadian pride that hopefully, your retailers who have Canadian products are going to stand back and say, we're not going to just rise our price because there's a tariff on the US one. The US, they absolutely will do it. Absolutely. They're they're the hub of capitalism. So I'm hoping the Canadian pride. And I think it's Loblaws. I think Loblaws are going to start putting a sort of a little sign with a black T or something on it to let people know that the price has been increased by tariffs. So that way there you'll know what has and hasn't been increased. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, but buy Canadian, guys, buy Canadian. Let's keep the money. Let's keep the money in Canada. Let's not pay tariffs by making better choices, I guess. All right. AA says back then liberals were liberals. Now they are socialist. When is the next Evolve video coming out? Good question. Good question. So the next Evolve video is going to be on bank. So that's banking ETF. It's a covered call ETF. I'm waiting for them to update the data. They should be getting back to me. I actually thought I'd hear from them this week, and this week isn't over yet, but probably before the end of March. And the beautiful thing is, the first one I did, and it's interesting. They're like, do you do crypto? I was like, well, I can do crypto. But normally if I do a crypto focused video on this channel, I get half the viewership. I've just cut the viewers in half right away. And I do know that. So that's why I'm looking forward to this one, because, it should do a lot better. And, it'll be fun. But yeah, soon. Very, very, very soon. I can't wait. All right, guys. I think that's the end of today's market close. Hopefully the markets, I was going to say are sane the rest of the week, but what are the odds? What are the odds? Not good, not good. We'll be back here on Friday. We will do it all again, and I will usher you guys into the weekend. So until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. I can't wait. We'll be back Friday. It'll be fun. And thank you guys for coming. You guys always make these into a lot of fun. I will see you guys Friday. Until then, guys, take care.